welcome to the April 2021 horoscopes. I am Ms. Jenny and I am your astrologer. I am presenting to you this month the Pandemic Exhausted, News Burned Out, Now This Is Just Getting Ridiculous episode. P.S. You're welcome. Okay, so for those of you who have been playing along and paying attention, we have seen that March has turned out to be spectacular soap opera month we were expecting, and has exceeded our expectations. Although I will say, I was expecting something about the Syria bombing to come up, but instead, the goddess has reminded us that she is in control and she has a sense of humor, and she gave us the Suez Canal instead. So April promises to be just as entertaining. So for this month, a couple of things you should know going into it. The first is that I really am pandemic exhausted like everybody. So I wanted to make this month's horoscope more entertaining to listen to and easier to hear. And also, too, I've got some Easter eggs hidden in here. So for those of you who are trying to learn astrology, your opportunity to learn is hidden, like a mystery, is hidden inside the format of this horoscope this month. This is a much more intuitive approach to understanding astrology. So it's on you to figure out what this means. Also, in this presentation where I refer to he or him or she or her, I'm not referring to specific genders. So I'm not referring to he, him as in masculine person with a male organs. I am referring to specifically an energy expression. So he, him has to do with a masculine expression of energy, and she, her has to do with a feminine expression of energy. So take that for what it is when you're listening. And for those of you who are trans who want to reorganize the pronouns in the language, no, just stop. Just stop. The English is complicated enough as it is, and we're leaving it just the way it is for this presentation. All right, so boys and girls, and everyone in between, this month we have a horoscope woven into a tale of two star-crossed lovers, and I've included a mystery puzzle to be solved by the astrological sleuths out there who are so inclined. I hope you enjoy this as much as I enjoyed putting it together for you. Spring is full of pleasant diversions and reasons to keep hope alive. I hope this month's forecast and story does the same for you. She was a radiant beauty who was not born of this world and navigated most of it through instinct and feeling. He was a young man who had not lost his idealism to the specters of cynicism, and in her arms he felt whole and purposeful. They had fallen in love so deeply and innocently that their relationship also attracted the attention of fickle and mischievous fates. While our young lovers were reveling in their good fortune in finding each other, they did not realize that their desires and dreams were only the beginning of what was to unfold this month for them. Hidden from their view were challenges that fate and destiny had decided that they would need to conquer to prove that they were, in fact, worthy of such great aspirations like deep and true love. A headstrong and common man at heart, he was born of this world and designed to withstand the many storms and assaults that life would bring him. He was also blessed with enough sophistication to know when he was hemmed in on all sides by intrigue and gossip, by people who were jealous of his good fortune. To protect his beloved, he knew he had to keep his affection for her hidden from their view until they could be together permanently, or the storm clouds of jealousy and envy would roll in and cast shadows on their happiness from the dark thoughts and interference of others and their unhappiness. While he kept a tight vigil on what he revealed and to whom, little did he know that his silence would benefit him because on or near April 2nd, 2021, information is being brought by multiple sources. If you listen closely, your silence will allow you to hear your personal messages from various sources to prepare you for what to expect this month too. The beautiful beloved was also filled with a fiery passion and optimism that made her confident that their love and valor could help them overcome all hurdles. She could not deny, though, that even she was handicapped by the circumstances she found herself in, and the desire to believe what she wanted was more appealing than what was factually in front of her. On April 3rd, 2021, she will find herself suddenly at odds with who she thought she was and what she thought she wanted. It all seems so hopeless to her because she can only see what she wants and what she has, with no bridge between. She has a special destiny waiting to unfold for her, and that means that she will be forced to make a reckoning of her ideals with the realities she finds herself living in. Can she fit her idealistic heart and hopes into an unforgiving set of realities that offered no easy answers? Can you face the limitations of your current moment in existence and use it to build a structure that can safeguard and weatherproof your hopes and dreams? Flexibility and an open-hand approach are the only way to survive this pivoting of situations with anything remaining intact. Will either of you be able to find new ways to flex and bend to make your goals now become achievements later on? On April 3rd, 2021, what advice would you give her? Quarter moon, April 4th, 2021, 14 degrees Capricorn. Decan and Dwad is the Venus or Taurus Libra segments. Our lovers cannot imagine a future without each other. They risk life and limb to be together, but when they're finally together and ready to move forward with their plans, an explosion tears our lovers apart. Blinded by flames, poisonous smoke, and unbearable heat, they're separated and can no longer see, hear, or reach each other across the din and calamity. The explosion has wounded our beloved, her beautiful skin marred by the impacts of the explosion. No longer a beauty who could light up the night sky with her presence, now she is deformed and monstrous in her disfigurement and barely recognizable. Her eyes are swollen shut, and when the sound returns to her ears, she can hear her lover calling frantically for her, searching for her, but she can feel herself being dragged away from his voice by 8 delicate hands before he can find her. Long, confusing hours pass, and unable to find her, our hero is heartbroken, and he can only assume that she has died. In his outrage about this theft of joy from his life, he decides to go to battle and find the enemy responsible for robbing him of his reason for existence. With a renewed fervor and courage to pursue the malefic forces responsible for this, he boldly moves on and away from this devastating moment. He is determined to prevent this from happening again to anyone else, and his selfless response to his grief captures the attentions of the other gods. Meanwhile, our beloved has slipped into trauma sleep from the magnitude of her burns. The goddess knows how true and powerful their love is and takes pity on them. While the beloved sleeps, the goddess applies sacred healing salves to her burns and wraps her in a silken cocoon to bandage and restore her. Only one visible marking would be left, and it would be on her face as a reminder to her beloved when he looked at her that the cost for deep love is sacrifice and seeing beyond the surface of people. Will our hero see past her visible imperfections? Is their love deep and real enough to help them find each other, even though they will not be recognizable as the people they were when they finally do see each other again? A few days later, there is another pivot in their journey. Between April 5th and 7th, 2021, more people along the way will become helpers for our star-crossed lovers in their effort to find each other. Our hero continues battle, but he learns that his beloved is still alive, and our beloved continues her long healing journey. During this time, everyone will be more agreeable and helpful for activities that support a higher good and a heart-centered goal. While our hero has sensed trouble ahead, he could not know that a trap had been set for him to test his convictions and reveal the truth of his character. He did not know it, but he was heading toward a powerful conflict with the powers that be. Look for clues on April 6th, 2021, about where destiny is taking all of us after we get through the battle ahead. Like a cryptic oracle dispensing its answers in the form of a riddle, the secret messages given this day will be subtle, not obvious. Listen and watch closely to divine the meaning. On April 8th, our lovers will again be toyed with by misunderstanding and interference of outside forces. Less than noble intentions will be at play, and sensitive communications will be deliberately disrupted. Our hero has won his immediate battle, but now he has lost information about his beloved. The darkening of the light is beginning, and disappearing messages, schedule confusions, and outright manipulation of information specifically to confuse, obfuscate, and interfere are the handiwork of those darker forces. You may also be subject to the same, so make no rash decisions and confirm any information or directives you receive. New Moon, April 11th, 2021. 22 degrees Aries, fixed star, Beten Katos. In his weary frustration, our lover has become rash and impulsive in his actions. Because of impulsive choices, he now finds himself captured and taken to an unknown destination on board a ship with other poor souls whom fate has cast its gaze upon. Off the coast of an unknown island and under inky black skies that reveal nothing about the future or the present, the ship wrecks and strands our captives. Our hero faces his greatest enemy now, depression and isolation. He feels alone and lost, even among the others who surround him on this shipwreck, who are just as damned as he is now. Darkness and unfamiliar sounds surround him, and as he makes efforts to remove his shackles and chains before he's drowned in his own misery, he pauses for a moment and looks up at the night sky. The glittering stars in the distance remind him of the glittering highlights that seemed to frame his beloved's face when he looked at her. He considered that she might still be alive. If she was, she would still need him, he reminded himself. This would not be the end of him, he determined, and returned to the work of freeing himself from his unwanted chains. Even in the face of tragedy, a small, glimmering hope became a distant star to navigate by. What would he tell you if you were there with him, another captive brought there and stranded by your own unique circumstances and fateful choices? On or near April 13th, our hero gets a lucky break and is sent help from the gods in the form of support and assistance from many people around him and along the way in his journey back to his destiny. Once he is free, he crosses paths with many people along the way who feel sympathy for his quest to find his true love and assist him in guiding him back. Once he's back, our hero knows that he will find himself face to face with a battle he must have and win if he's to be worthy of the love he knows it is possible. At the same time, the powers that be have already begun the other part of their plan and begin to seduce the beloved away from our hero. Now that she thinks she may never see him again, will she find herself vulnerable to the captivating seduction of powerful, exciting forces that offer her the promise of security and excitement? She wants to stay true to her faith in her lover's return, but how can she trust it when fate has inflicted such an absolute and cruel act on them? She finds herself facing a chance to have a different future, but it would mean deciding what she truly believes, not just thinks. She's offered a future that promises that she will never feel alone, abandoned, or confused again. But was it too good to be true? Was it wishful thinking? What would you tell her to do? On this day, you may also find yourself experiencing lucky breaks and unexpected support for your projects, and/or having insights or offers into radical departures from your old life or old way of thinking. By April 15th, she will have dried her tears and made a decision, but who does that mean she will choose? Will she choose the seductive stranger who promises everything she could want to feel safe and to build a future with, but are they just that, promises? Or will she keep the faith and hang on to hope for our hero, who is a source of joy in our heart, because we can only assume, not confirm, that he is dead and never able to return? On April 18th, 2021, our hero finds himself facing the powers that be, and he is confronted with the truth of the deliberately intercepted information between he and his beloved that caused their separation and brought him to this trap. It is now that the final battles must be fought between darkness and light, fear and hope, conviction and cowardice. To the victor over the dark night of the soul that we have just passed through, the reward is a visionary sight worth its weight in gold and gems, and is promised, but only to those clever enough to catch the glimmer among the dusty ruins and rubble to find it. From April 15th to 18th, these days will provide fertile proving ground to do the hard work necessary to get to the bottom of things. It's in these days that we are given access to the foundation work necessary to make grand improvements we could not have without the conflict. Or we can choose to simply waste time with pointless shadowboxing. You may find yourself feeling indecision or guilt about taking care of your own needs versus making necessary sacrifices for the greater good. If you are conflicted, go back to April 2nd, 6th, and 13th and reconsider insights offered to you then. Quarter Moon, 0 Leo, Decan and Dwad of Leo and Leo. On April 20th, our hero has a vision. In a moment when he has started to nod off in exhaustion, he has an image and sensation, a sound of his beloved being there with him. He can feel that she's alive. His heart tells him what his brain does not want to believe. Beloved is unable to sleep or rest. She finds no peace as her decision to succumb to the seductive powers that be draws near to reality. Her mind tells her one thing, but her heart feels heavy and tormented. In her confusion and despair, she wanders dangerously close to the edge of a cliff considering suicide since the future feels secure but empty, and the past has brought her joy but is gone forever. A spider had begun spinning a web between some vines and branches on the ground. She sees the spider, backs up, and trips. She is saved from certain death by a vine wrapped around her ankle, tangled in spiderweb and branches against a log on the ground above. She tearfully screams for help when finally an old woman appears over the cliff's edge, peering down at her in curiosity. She pulls her up to safety, and our beloved has a breakdown. The old woman listens patiently and says nothing. When our beloved has finally stopped crying and speaking hysterically, the old woman gets up to leave. She says to her as she goes, "Life is short, and there are no guarantees. Fate does not care about your happiness, your obligations, or your efforts. When fate has decided it's time to intervene, it will, and often cruelly and without pity or kindness. And when that happens, there is no bed soft enough or any hearth warm enough to give you the comfort you will seek. It is the softness and warmth of a heart that will sustain you during these times. Always choose what will bring joy. Joy will be hard enough to find in the times that fate does allow you to have peace without interruption. It is a choice, not a command. What has brought you joy in your past? What brings you joy now? Who are the people that inspire joy in you? Do you inspire joy in others? Where is the joy in your life? Should our beloved listen to her heart and not give up on the possibility of joy returning to her life? Or should she do what her mind tells her is the most sensible thing to do and substitute external things for internal ones? What would you tell her? What would you tell yourself? By the time we get to April 20th, the entire playing field has changed because now the sky has cleared and everyone can see more clearly than before and with more optimism. Fueled by confidence that moving as a group toward a unified goal together will manifest their dreams faster, our hero finds worthy company along his journey. Our heroine remains elusive and out of reach of him because the gods are preparing her for something more complex than a simple love story as the final chapter in her book of life. She is destined to be a heroine in her own story. The discovery of passionate love was only the first of many catalysts to send her off on her own complicated journey. A strong wave lifts all boats. Where are you throwing your support for someone else's success so that everyone can be lifted with their wave when it arrives? How are you joining forces with the people around you to help love find its way home for anyone, which really means everyone? When we reach April 23rd, our lovers will meet again, and she will have already become a more mature, ripened version of feminine power and strength, while he will have become a new, more thoughtful, reliable masculine force to be leaned upon. He will croon and serenade for her return, but she's not ready to commit to staying here in this place with him yet. The breeze gently passing her face carries the whispering of destiny calling her name. She loves him, and even though her destiny begins with him, she senses that it doesn't end in this moment with him. Their story isn't over, and neither is yours. When destiny whispers your name to your soul and calls you, where do you see that you have unfinished business? Today is a good day to be reminded of the parts of you that will propel you forward in your life and your untold, mysterious destiny. On this day, April 23rd, you may find yourself feeling much more realistic and clear-eyed about your future and what needs to be done to ensure that you have one. Goals and plans that feel right as much as they sound right are the litmus test for deciding on a course of action right now. Your gut instincts are right on time. Listen to what your gut is telling or showing you. Super full moon 7 Taurus, April 26th, 2021. A decision has to be made. He has traveled so far and endured so much to return and be with her again. He has grown and discovered so much more about who he is in his effort to find her again. And she has survived so much and remained true to her belief that deep love would return to her life, and material security or seductive excitement could never bring her the joy that only sincere love could. And yet, now they find themselves standing opposite each other, like combatants where victory must come with the defeat and capitulation of the other. Neither being sure that what they are saying or asking the other for is even the best decision, only knowing that any choice that involves losing each other is not the one that they are ready to accept. Fate and destiny watched with delight as the two lovers agonized over what to do next. They could not return to their old world, or they would both surely die long, suffering deaths, and never see the vision of the future that was revealed to them during their first moments together. They could not bear the idea of being apart again, because each carried the heart sparks that ignited joy in each other, and without the opportunity for joy, there would be no life worth living. The evening dusk approached with its orange, purple, and red jewel tones scattered across the horizon as the sun lowered itself and pulled the night sky over itself like a twinkling dark blanket. Our lover and beloved decided to let the matter rest for the night and sleep on the great questions ahead of them. They took solace in each other's embrace and softly drifted off to sleep, comforted by each other's presence, both hoping that better answers could be found in their dreams that night. Asibikashi, or spider grandmother, scurried across the ground and up along a tree limb over the lovers. With her long, delicate legs, she quickly began spinning a silken web into a dream catcher directly over their heads so they could find peaceful sleep and their dreams would be lucid. Fate leaned into destiny and spoke conspiratorially. We aren't going to let them off the hook this easy, are we? Asibikashi continued working, pretending not to hear them. Destiny looked at Fate from the corner of her eye and returned her gaze back to the sleeping lovers. Don't be silly. She still has much further to go in this lifetime, and I have plans for him depending on how he develops. A satisfied smile spread across Fate's closed lips as he reached behind him. "Oh, let the games continue," he announced happily as he pulled open his bag of cruel jokes and catch-22s. Asibikashi made a disapproving clicking sound with her tiny fangs and looked at the two conspirators through more than a few of her 8 eyes. She completed her task and returned to her grandmotherly female form. As an old woman, her disapproving gaze penetrated even deeper than when she was in spider form. You two still owe me for the North American episodes, she said in a gravely warning tone of voice. Fate let his jaw drop open in mock horror and then pointed at Destiny mockingly. Destiny returned Spider Grandmother's gaze. It's coming, she said. I'm not done yet. I haven't forgotten, she repeated. I haven't forgotten. Spider Grandmother walked toward them and stopped in front of Fate when she was close. She leveled a long, sinister gaze at him exclusively until he stopped trying to avoid eye contact with her and finally returned her gaze. In a terrifyingly warning voice, she said to him, I haven't forgotten either, and then continued walking away. Under this full moon, you may feel like even the simplest of decisions still feel like you're negotiating a deal with the devil. No matter what the choice you make or how simple it seems, the price to be paid for the decision will still seem more complicated or unsatisfactory than it should be. This is a cleaving moon that will force you to make a sacrifice offering in order to get what you think you want. Be sure that what you want is worth a deeply personal sacrifice. What isn't a voluntary or obvious sacrifice during the bargaining will be an involuntary and unexpected sacrifice demanded of you later. And make no mistake about it, you will make the payment, so make sure the choice is worth it. Astro Mystery Puzzle. Who is the goddess that steals our beloved away and wraps her in healing salves and bandages? What is the significance of the number 8? Which lunation would best be associated with love and connecting from the heart? Bonus research question. Asibikashi is the spider woman or spider grandmother who is well known to many First Nation tribes. How many names does she have? Which tribes recognize her? What is her role in the tribal pantheon of gods and goddesses that she belongs to? The struggle makes you stronger. Strength is what makes you beautiful. Sincerely, Saturn, the other ruler of Libra.